Some scenes are too intense to fake, others are too dangerous to repeat. And then there are those rare moments in cinema flickering across the screen just once because something happened after cut that made everyone vow never to go back. Hollywood is built on illusion, but behind that illusion are decisions snap, irreversible decisions made when the camera is still rolling, a shattered window that wasn't supposed to break, a scream that wasn't entirely scripted, a stunt gone just slightly wrong, or just right enough to leave someone bleeding. These are the moments that directors either hide or enshrine, not because they're perfect, but because trying again would mean tempting fate. Sometimes the explanation is simple. The location was destroyed, the actor quit, the budget collapsed. But more often, the reason is unspoken. A fight that escalated off-screen, a reaction that was too real, an atmosphere that changed the mood of the set entirely. In those cases, a second take wasn't just impossible, it was unwanted, because whatever happened after that first take wasn't meant to be repeated. Today, we're stepping into the most chilling category of all, the one-take-only scenes. Not meticulously planned one-take wonders, but accidental final cuts. Moments so raw, so emotionally charged, or so entangled in off-screen fallout, they were preserved not for brilliance, but for survival. The question isn't just how these scenes made it into the final cut, it's why no one ever wanted to shoot them again. Were these moments of accidental genius? Or cinematic trauma caught in real time? Some takes are perfect because of planning, others because of pain. But the ones we've explored today weren't born from choreography or craft. They were born from chaos, chance, and choices no one wanted to face again. These one-take moments reveal something raw. The fragility of control on a film set. The truth that behind every frame lies a risk, physical, emotional, or moral. Some directors pushed too far, some actors gave too much, and sometimes the camera caught more than anyone intended. But when that moment is captured, when it's real, irreversible, and seared into celluloid, it becomes part of the film's soul. So now, we ask you, which of these scenes do you think crossed the line between realism and recklessness? Were they acts of cinematic bravery? Or evidence of something darker no one wanted to admit? Leave your thoughts below. And if this countdown made you see your favorite films in a different light, you've only scratched the surface of what's been left in the darkroom. 12 Years a Slave, 2013, The Hanging Scene. In one of the most harrowing scenes of the film, Solomon Northup, Chiwetel Ejiofor, is left hanging by a noose, his toes barely scraping the ground. What audiences may not realize is that the tension in Ejiofor's body was not faked. The rigging was secure, but the discomfort, the panic, the strain in his legs, all of it was real. Director Steve McQueen kept the camera rolling for minutes, in complete silence, while background actors continued moving about ignoring the man struggling to breathe. The scene was shot only once, not for lack of options, but because no one wanted to relive it. Was it a masterstroke of raw realism? Or a test of physical and psychological endurance too close to truth? Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, 2002. The Book Slam. During the scene where Lucius Malfoy threatens Harry in Dumbledore's office, actor Jason Isaacs improvised a final line, "Let us hope that Mr. Potter will always be around to save the day," to which Daniel Radcliffe immediately replied, "Don't worry, I will be." That reply wasn't in the script. Neither was what Isaacs did next. He turned abruptly, raised his wand, and began casting a spell. He was going to curse Harry on impulse, but the director shouted, "Cut," just in time. The tension was real. Radcliffe later said he wasn't sure Isaacs wouldn't go through with it. That charged moment stayed. It was lightning in a bottle, never to be repeated. Was it inspired improvisation? Or a glimpse into just how far an actor might go before the scene consumes them? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974, The Real Cut. By the time the Texas Chainsaw Massacre reached its final scenes, the cast had been pushed beyond exhaustion. But it was during the infamous dinner scene that things turned disturbing for real. Actor Edwin Neal recalled the heat, the stench, and the claustrophobia. But the moment that broke the illusion was when Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface, accidentally sliced actor Paul A. Partain's finger with a real knife. The retractable prop had failed. Hansen, sweating and frustrated, used a real blade to get the shot. Blood dripped. The reaction was real. The camera kept rolling. Director Tobe Hooper never called cut. There was no second take. There didn't need to be. That shot, the grotesque close-up of the bleeding hand, wasn't special effects. It was pure, irreversible reality. Was it cinema verite or just madness masquerading as method? Django Unchained, 2012, The Bloody Monologue. During a heated dinner scene, Leonardo DiCaprio's character slams his hand on the table and smashes a glass, slicing open his palm. Blood pours out. But DiCaprio, fully in character, kept going. He delivered the rest of the monologue with real blood dripping down his hand, shocking the cast. Quentin Tarantino was so impressed with the intensity that he used the take. What most don't realize is that the blood wasn't staged. That pain, that intensity, it wasn't written. DiCaprio required medical attention after, but there was no question of reshooting. The room, the energy, the discomfort, it couldn't be recreated. Was it a moment of Oscar-worthy brilliance? Or a lucky accident that nearly went very wrong? Titanic 1997, The Glass Punch. During an emotional scene where Cal, Billy Zane, flips a breakfast table in rage, Zane's hand shattered a real glass object unexpectedly. The glass wasn't supposed to be real. Props had failed to arrive on time, so a stand-in set piece was used. When Zane slammed his fist, it splintered, slicing into his palm. The blood was real, the reaction authentic, and the moment frighteningly effective. Kate Winslet reportedly broke character in panic, but James Cameron kept the footage. Zane received stitches, and the production moved on. No one suggested reshooting. It wasn't just impractical, it was emotionally spent. Did that one moment give the scene its raw intensity, or did it cross the invisible line between acting and injury? The Shining, 1980, the axe door scene. When Jack Nicholson slammed an axe through the bathroom door while screaming, "Here's Johnny!" What the audience didn't know was this: that was not a prop door. It was solid wood, real, dense, and unprepared. Kubrick originally planned to use a breakaway door, but Nicholson's past as a volunteer firefighter made him too strong for it. The prop doors splintered too easily, ruining the shot. So the team installed a real door and let Nicholson go full force. What followed was raw, terrifying. Shelley's scream was real, the terror on her face unfeigned. The door obliterated. But when asked if they should do another take with more controlled intensity, Kubrick reportedly said, "No one's going through that again." The scene became legend, but behind that moment was a decision: use the take or break the actors. Was this a masterclass in horror direction? Or a psychological endurance test gone too far? The Crow, 1994, The Fatal Take. The most infamous one-take scene in modern cinema wasn't preserved for artistry, it was preserved because Brandon Lee died filming it. A prop gun, meant to fire blanks, was improperly prepared. When triggered, it released a real projectile, fatally wounding Lee. The cameras were rolling. The footage was seized by police and never publicly released, but production was forced to finish the film using body doubles and digital tricks. The scene he died in wasn't reshot. It couldn't be. That moment, the one that ended his life, was the one they were left with. Was this the cost of commitment to realism? Or a failure so tragic it forever changed the way Hollywood handles firearms? The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, 2001. The knife incident. In the scene where Aragorn deflects a dagger mid-air, the weapon thrown at Viggo Mortensen was supposed to be rubber. It wasn't. A real steel knife flew toward his face due to a miscommunication on set. Mortensen reacted instinctively, batting the blade away with his sword. The timing was perfect. The shot stayed in the film, but behind the scenes, panic erupted. Had he moved a fraction too late, the actor could have been blinded or worse. No one wanted to recreate it. No one even wanted to talk about it. It was the perfect take born from an imperfect mistake. Was it a testament to Mortensen's skill, or to the razor-thin margin between cinematic triumph and catastrophe? The Passion of the Christ, 2004. The Lightning Strike. Shooting The Passion of the Christ was already intense emotionally, physically, spiritually. But during the Sermon on the Mount scene, actor Jim Caviezel, portraying Jesus, was literally struck by lightning mid-filming. Caviezel survived with minor injuries, but the message was clear. Nature had sent a warning. The crew, already uneasy with the subject matter, interpreted the event as a sign. That take was the only one filmed before the crew relocated. It made the final cut not for quality, but for caution. In a production marked by accidents, illness, and injuries, the lightning strike became the most unforgettable moment. Not because of what happened on screen, but because of what nearly happened behind it. Was this divine coincidence, or something darker no one wanted to question? Apocalypse Now, 1979, The Real Breakdown. In the opening scene of Apocalypse Now, Martin Sheen's drunken, erratic behavior wasn't scripted. He was actually intoxicated. The mirror he shattered? Real. The blood on his hands, his own. Coppola let the cameras roll as Sheen descended into a genuine breakdown, screaming, sobbing, punching the walls. It was meant to be a character study. It became a confession. The crew hesitated to intervene, and Sheen later admitted he was suffering from a mental health crisis at the time. Coppola kept the footage. There was no repeat. Sheen was hospitalized not long after. That raw, fractured opening became one of the most iconic scenes in film history, born from a moment no one dared to recreate. Did it set the tone for a masterpiece? Or expose how blurred the line had become between actor and character? Roar, 1981. The Uncontrolled Charge. There's no shortage of danger in Roar, a film where real lions and tigers were used without trained animal handlers. But one scene stands out. When Melanie Griffith is tackled by a lion mid-shot, the animal's claws grazed her face, narrowly missing her eye. The crew kept filming, frozen. Griffith staggered away, bleeding, and required emergency reconstructive surgery afterward. The footage? Used without hesitation. Director Noel Marshall, also her father, insisted it captured the raw spirit of the film. There was no question of reshooting. The animals weren't trained, the danger was real, and the trust between cast, crew, and beast had already snapped. Did Roar capture nature's untamed beauty? Or was it a cinematic dare that finally went too far? The Abyss, 1989. The breathless take. James Cameron is no stranger to pushing boundaries, but on the set of The Abyss, he nearly pushed one actor to the edge, literally. In a scene where Ed Harris's character swims through a submerged corridor with limited oxygen, the actor was instructed to hold his breath for an extended period, without a mask or regulator in view. But something went wrong. A miscommunication with the dive team left Harris without backup air, and he began to suffocate during the take. The crew eventually pulled him to safety, but Harris was visibly shaken. When the scene wrapped, he reportedly stormed off set, refusing to speak to Cameron for days. That single take was all they got. It's the one used in the film. The tension in Harris's eyes, the desperation that wasn't acting. That was a man gasping for survival on camera. Was this a directorial triumph in authenticity? Or a dangerous flirtation with tragedy? The Exorcist, 1973. The back-breaking scream. Behind the infamous levitation scene in The Exorcist lies a moment of pain no one anticipated. When Chris McNeil, Ellen Burstyn, is hurled across the room by her possessed daughter, the rig yanked her backward with such force that she slammed into the floor hard. The scream she let out wasn't scripted. It was real pain, from a real spinal injury. Director William Friedkin, known for pushing realism, kept rolling. He used that take in the final film. Burstyn was reportedly furious. The crew offered to redo it with less force. She refused. There would be no second time. Not because she didn't want to, but because she physically couldn't. The result is one of the most chilling, human moments in a film filled with supernatural terror. Did it elevate the scene, or did it mark the moment the film stopped being fiction? A Clockwork Orange, 1971. The waterboarding take. Stanley Kubrick was notorious for pushing actors to their limits, but even he didn't dare repeat what happened during the Ludovico technique scene in A Clockwork Orange. Malcolm McDowell, strapped to a chair with eyes pried open, endured real physical torment. During one take, the assistant responsible for applying eye drops missed a beat. McDowell's cornea was scratched, and he was temporarily blinded. Between takes, he reportedly gasped, "I can't see." Kubrick had his footage, but no actor willing to go through it again. Production shut down temporarily, and the scene was immortalized as it was. The terror in McDowell's eyes? It wasn't just acting, it was medical. In a film obsessed with the clash between free will and control, was this moment an artistic breakthrough or an ethical collapse no one wanted to revisit? The Omen, 1976. The Zoo Breakdown. There's a reason why the baboon attack scene in The Omen feels too real it was. When Lee Remick's character takes young Damien through a safari park, the violent outburst of the baboons wasn't a special effect. It was panic. To provoke a genuine reaction from the animals, handlers placed a real baby baboon in the car, hidden from view. The result was terrifying. The adult baboons swarmed the vehicle, slamming against the windows in a frenzy. Lee Remick's screams of terror? Not acting. The young actor playing Damien began crying uncontrollably, and the crew nearly lost control of the situation. Director Richard Donner got the shot and immediately called it. There was no second take. Not because they couldn't replicate the chaos, but because the actors refused. Remick later stated she would never step into that car again. The scene stayed unflinchingly raw, unsettlingly primal. Was this genius manipulation of emotion, or a violation of safety that crossed the line between realism and cruelty? The Man Who Knew Too Much, 1956, The Slap Heard Once. Alfred Hitchcock was a master of control, but in one scene from The Man Who Knew Too Much, control slipped. During an emotionally tense moment, Doris Day's character confronts her husband with a mix of fear and desperation. The script called for Jimmy Stewart to grab her arm and shake her firmly, but safely. But Hitchcock whispered something to Stewart seconds before the take. The cameras rolled. Stewart delivered the lines and then, unexpectedly, slapped Doris Day across the face. The sound was sharp, the reaction stunned. Day didn't break character, but her eyes watered and her hands trembled. That was the take Hitchcock used. When asked why he directed Stewart to slap her, Hitchcock reportedly replied, "She needed to feel afraid." There was outrage on set. Day later admitted she didn't see it coming, but she also said it gave the scene a realism she couldn't replicate again. The take was never reshot. It lived as a single, unrepeatable moment where the line between method and manipulation blurred under the bright lights of classic Hollywood. Was this brilliant psychological directing or exploitation under the guise of genius?